no excuse for running a little late here. At some point, I'll have a situation. Okay, we good? Anybody, I don't know, they're doing all this weird stuff now over here. Hi, Sandy, good morning. Good morning. All right. So I was gonna do like an event and all this and have people come on live with me and yeah, you know, see, I didn't do that. But, okay. So yeah, I'm running just a smidgen late this morning. I don't know, it's like every time I'm sure I'm not alone, right? Anytime I start to do anything, I end up doing 7 other things and then I come back and I'm like, what am I doing again? And yeah, so that's just kind of how this morning has been. So, yeah. And I'm on my own with the pets this morning. So hopefully they will be good. Okay. Nice, I appreciate that. All right. So I've got a really busy week coming up and usually these classes that I do are a little bit selfish sometimes, right? But I know other people have the same experiences, right? I don't live in a bubble. So if you need a gentle flow this morning, then that's where we're going to be. Doesn't mean everything is going to be ultra easy. And of course, as I say all the time, you can make things harder or not, right, than what we're doing here. So just remember to get what you need. And if, like I say, a gentle flow is not going to be it this morning, then maybe grab one of the other classes that are on the page or on YouTube, wherever you're at. So yeah, let's go. So sitting well here, and we are going to be here for a little bit. So if it does feel more comfortable to maybe sit up on a block or a bolster, then feel free to do that. We want to make sure that the pelvis is upright, whatever tools you need, make sure you're using that. Just moving the flesh out from under the seat is sometimes enough. Hanging on sometimes is helpful, but just really be aware of the balance of the pelvis, right? Right in the middle, not leaning forward or rocking back. So engaging the lower belly, lifting the pelvic floor, lower belly in and up or tall through the sides, and relax down in through your shoulders. See if you can feel your chest lift just a little bit. We don't want to go crazy with it. It's not a back bend, but because we do tend to slouch a lot, that little cue might help you. Go ahead and close your eyes and just allow yourself to be here for a moment. There's no doing right now. Just kind of noticing what's going on in the body. Relaxing muscles that don't need to be engaged, right? Sometimes our face, right? We're pinching our eyebrows together. We're keeping tension in the jaw. Let all of that go. Finding your breath and just take a few breaths and be thankful for it. Let's turn that into a yoga breath here. So with the next exhale, get extra empty. Even when you think you're done, there's always a little bit left. So really continue to breathe out until you just can't anymore. And then when you inhale through the nose, take that air deep into the lungs. Let your upper belly poke out. And you can over-exaggerate it if you want to, of course. And then exhale, pull the belly in really, really tight and get super empty again. Do it again like that. And then we're going to add on to that. So with the next inhale, let your upper belly poke out, but there's still space. So imagine making your side ribs wide, like you could touch your arms, your inner arms. And then pull the rib cage back together, pull the belly in, get really, really empty again. Do that again, deep and wide. Get empty. And then do it once more. So we're going to probably see if we can add on to that. So take the air deep, wide, and then continue to inhale until you're full, like from the bottom to the top. And then exhale from the top, through the middle, to the bottom. Again, like that. Big, giant, full breath. Get into all the nooks and crannies. Exhale it all away. And we're going to do one more like that. So that's a lot of space that we don't normally use, right? See if you can find a yoga breath that engages at least a little bit of that, right? But not quite so intense, so we can actually begin to move a little bit here. So maintaining the breath, maintaining the belly, the length of your spine here. Let's extend the arms out to the sides. With the next inhale, stretch them up to the ceiling. And then exhale, bring them back down again. We're going to do it again. One more time. Coming back to the top, inhale. And then exhale, just the left hand back to the mat. Give yourself a little tip, keeping the pelvis level. Take a nice big breath here and direct that air into your right side ribs. On an inhale, make your way back up to the top. And we'll switch, take it over to the right. Same idea. Send that breath into the left side ribs here. And then back up to center again. Once more on each side, exhale left. Nice big breath. Back up to the top, inhale. And then back over to the right, last one. Inhaling from center. And we'll exhale, release the legs. Take the fingers, let's interlace behind the lower back here. Pull the shoulder blades together, stretch the knuckles toward the floor, and then allow yourself to gently hinge forward. So we want to lead with the chest or the belly button, right? Maybe not necessarily your face or your head, right? Keeping the chest open. We'll take another nice big breath. And then gently hinge back up before you release your fingers. Think about which thumb is on top. And then release your fingers, switch your feet. Wide. And then relace your fingers with the other thumb on top. Pulling the shoulder blades together on the back, stretching the knuckles away from the shoulders, hinge forward here. One more big breath. And then we'll inhale, hinging back up again. Go ahead and release your fingers and let's stretch the legs out long. So wiggle them around a little bit if you feel like you need that. We still want to feel upright on the pelvis. If you are sitting up on something, then maybe a little okay. Stretch the legs out nice and long. The hands can be wherever the hands need to be. Oh my goodness. I'll be right there. Go. Go. You guys remember when they used to be good, right? Sorry. All right. So hands back by the hips, extended toward the ceiling, wherever you want them. We're going to hinge forward and just allow yourself to come into a fold. So find extra space through your spine here. Take a couple of nice big breaths. And then allow yourself a moment to relax a little bit into it, right? So you've got lots of space. Now try and release a little bit. And if your spine does round for a moment here, just let it, right? We don't want this to be the default position, right? But sometimes letting go in forward folds is nice too. But just recognize the difference, right? We're going to take just a few more breaths here. Notice if you can gently wiggle into that a little bit deeper, or sink maybe into it a little deeper. With the next inhale, we're going to come back up to the top again and release the arms. So let's open the feet into a straddle, and don't worry about how wide your straddle is. Look for the sensation in the inner thigh here, inner hip, depending on where you're feeling it more, of course. Check in that you're still upright on your pelvis. Sitting nice and tall here. Arms again back by the hips or extending toward the ceiling. We're going to rotate the belly around to the right and then fold over that leg. So just let your hands fall, don't reach. Recognize that that left sit bone gets a little light. Put it down. And again, find some space and length, and then see if you can relax into it a little bit. So we don't want to overly round. Again, it's not about touching the toes, but we want to relax a little bit. If you want a little bit more sensation here, take that right hand. If you push into the floor, you can kind of rotate the belly around toward the thigh a little bit. Tons of space in the spine, nice big breaths, grounded pelvis. With the next inhale, we're going to come back up to the top, rotate around to the left, and then do the same thing. Again, letting your hands fall. So the pelvis is grounded, the spine is really tall. Allow the hinge to be wherever it is. And then see if you can release into it a little bit. Still not reaching and rounding intentionally, but relaxing and seeing if that draws you deeper. Pressing more into the left hand so you can rotate around, facing more toward the floor. On the inhale, making your way back up to the top, releasing the arms. We're going to pin the right hand underneath the left thigh. And then take the left arm up, We're gonna hinge over, bringing the elbow to the inner thigh. To the floor if you can go to the floor, but try not to come to the floor and squish all up into the upper body. So if it's not the floor, don't worry about it. Push into the thigh here and rotate the belly toward the ceiling this time. So if the arm extended over the ear is too much, the hand can be at the hip. Just keeping the shoulder back will do the trick. The pelvis is rooted, the spine is nice and tall. And notice if you release into the body weight, that maybe the stretch is a little deeper. Let's take one more breath here. With the inhale, lifting back up to the top. Releasing and then switching hands here, left hand under the right thigh. Reach it up. Hinging over and using the elbow at the inner thigh. Floor, maybe the floor, great. You're still pressing against the inner thigh, so that doesn't matter too much. Rotate around. Ground the pelvis, lengthen at the crown of the head. Decide if you need the arm or not. Try to release into the body weight a little bit. And it's early, so don't worry if you're not touching your toes. And even if it were late, don't worry about not touching your toes. On an inhale, we're coming back up to the top. Release the hands to the center here. Sit really tall. So same idea, we're just gonna tip forward, find the hinge. Check in with your toes. Make sure they're pointing toward the ceiling. If you need to open your feet or bring them a little bit closer together, feel free. And then again, without reaching or intentionally rounding, see if you can relax into this. There are some places that we go that I don't know if it's the brain or whatever it is, but we get a little nervous and we're like, oh, this is really tight. So we tighten to protect ourselves. But you can stop yourself from going too far with your hands. So you don't have to give that extra squeeze in the inner hip or inner thigh or wherever it is that you're feeling that. And if you can release just a tiny bit, maybe you can go deeper. Maybe. It's always an experiment, right? You see what happens. If it's too much, you come on. So let's take one more breath. We're going to hinge back up and then bring the legs back together. So here, you can leave the legs where they are. You can bring yourself back to an easy seated position with the ankles stacked. But maybe bring the left, I don't know, let's call this the right foot. And bring it to the floor either at the inside of the thigh or the outside of the thigh. It may be a little bit down toward the ankle or the calf or the knee even, but wherever it is, we want to make sure that that foot can be flat and the pelvis can be level, right? And if that's too much, it's back on the inside. So we want to sit nice and tall, and you can hang on to the leg here to help if you need to. See if maybe we can take this left foot, bending at the knee, bring the foot in front of your right sit bone. So this foot is flat, the pelvis is level, we don't want to sit on this heel. And if those things can't happen, just take the leg back out again. Right? So keeping the spine nice and tall, again, kind of hang on to the leg. We're going to wrap the left arm around the shin, take the right arm behind the back, push into the floor, sit a little taller even, and then you can gently pull against the leg to rotate around into a twist here. Relaxing the shoulders, maybe looking over the shoulder. It is your first twist, so just listen to your body. It doesn't have to be super crazy and fancy. Right? You got one more breath. And then we release that, coming back to center, unhook the legs, wiggle them around. And we'll do the second side. And just because you went one place on one side doesn't mean the other side is the same. So see if this foot needs to be on the inside or it can be on the outside. Check, check, all good. Pelvis is level, spine can be tall, right? And then maybe the right foot or right knee can bend and the foot comes in front of the sit bone. So that foot's flat, the pelvis is level, right? Feeling good? Keeping that as we wrap the right arm, support with the left, and then gently rotate around. So you're not only getting the twist, but you're also getting some nice stretch in the hip. Big full breaths. And then gently release back to center again. So unhook the legs. Let's go ahead and bring the right foot to the inside of the thigh, this time with the knee open to the side. And you can stay with the pelvis more straight on, or you can take that knee back and open the hips a little bit here. So a little bit like our straddle fold. I want to work into the hips just a little bit more before we go into the next piece. So the pelvis is level, right? You might need to adjust a little bit. We're going to keep the spine lifted here and hinge forward. Take another big breath here. And then hinge back up again. Rotate toward the leg and fold here. So we used this left hand earlier to kind of steer the belly toward the floor or toward the thigh. We're going to see if we can use that and get a little bit of a twisting even, right? So you're going to ground your pelvis, extend out the crown of your head, keep your spine really long, shoulders down and back. See if you can take the right hand to the outside of the leg and maybe start to walk the hands around a little bit, pushing against the floor. So you're just adding in, right? You're getting that twist, you're getting sensation probably in the right hip here. In other places, depending on where you are. Let's release that back to the middle, and then we'll hinge back up. Okay. So switch feet. Bringing the left foot in. And again here, choosing to remain a little bit more square to the top of the mat, if that's where you're at, or opening. Checking in again that the pelvis is level, important, right? Sit really, really tall. Coming forward first, so kind of in this middle space. Hinging back up again. Rotating toward the leg, and then coming forward here. So ground the spine. Ground the pelvis, lengthen your spine. Using the hands a little bit, and if that's enough, that's enough. There's a little bit of rotation. There could be enough stretch in the outer hip that this is good, right? But maybe take the left hand to the outside of the leg and start to maybe walk around a little bit. And the fold doesn't have to be as big, right? You can lift up out of that fold some, or not. And then we're going to walk back toward the leg and hinge back up again. So extending back out, wiggle around a little here. Let's bring the right shin parallel to the top edge of the mat. And we did fire logs and we went for the full version last week, I think it was. I think we did anyway, if I remember right. We're just going to go for a little bit of an easier variation because it is a little earlier and we're going a little less intense. So flexing the feet, bringing the heel in front of the right knee, and then just letting the left shin or knee really drop. So this may be very challenging for you. If it is, you cut it back a little bit by bringing the feet a little closer together rather than the foot by the knee and the other foot by the knee, right? So you want to make sure you're upright on your pelvis, tall through your spine, relax those shoulders, and you can give yourself a little bit more here with a gentle fold forward if you need it. Let's take one more breath. And then we'll hinge back up. And just like before, you do have to switch, right? So maybe stretch them out, wiggle them around if that feels good. And then bringing the left shin parallel to the top edge of the mat. Feet are flexed. That right heel comes in front of the knee. And just kind of gently lay the knee down on the inner ankle. If that happens, right? If it's sticking up a little bit or you bring your feet a little closer together, then that's where the stretch is. We're just looking for the stretch. The body doesn't have to look like a certain thing. So we want to sit nice and tall, hinge forward here if that's appropriate. And with an inhale, gently bring it back up again. Stretch out your legs, wiggle them around. And we are finally going to get up off our butt. Not much, but we will. Come on around onto all fours. Takes a second to get there after you're stuck, right? So ground the four corners of the hands. Make the shoulders neutral on the back. And the belly still supporting here. Moving in through some cat-cows. Inhale the belly toward the floor. Exhale, round your spine toward the ceiling. And then just connect to the breath like that, in and out. Once more in each direction. And then find your middle. So from here, we're going to take the left hand, palm up, and leave it under. So the elbow maybe to the floor, and ideally it's in the center of your mat, right underneath your shoulder, right? If you're not quite as open and it's to the left a little bit, fine, right? But we don't want to, we want to use this center so the upper body is in the middle of the mat. You can continue to reach over and then drop that shoulder to that center place if you want more. So make sure that you feel like you're leaning on your shoulder, not your head, right? And that the weight of the hips is over the knees, not forward or back with that, right? So checking in with the alignment, make sure your head is comfortable, press into the floor. So if you press into the right arm, left arm,
And then the right fingertips, push that shoulder back, right? Feel how using the floor makes a big difference. You can stay here. You can get all kinds of fancy, of course, maybe extending the arm up toward the ceiling. Check in that this hand stacks over the shoulder, ideally stacking over the left shoulder. So we're looking for the center of the mat. And if it doesn't happen, leave the hand down, right? You can still stack the shoulders. If you want to add balance in, you can take the toes and lift the toes, all of the fancy stuff, if that's what you want. We're just going to take one more breath. Gently release what you got here, making your way back up into all fours, and then switching sides. So the right hand under, whether it's your elbow or all the way down to the shoulder. Again, aiming for the middle of the mat, not forward or out. Inside or outside. And again, weight of the hips over the knees. Check in there. If your head is pretty comfortable, that's usually a pretty good sign. And then you use the floor more or less, stacking the shoulders, reaching the arm toward the ceiling, adding in the balance, any of those pieces. Until the pose is what you want it to be right now. One more nice big breath wherever you are. And then we'll gently release. Coming back into all fours. And then let's go ahead and sit back at a child's pose. Yay! About time, right? In a gentle class. But even in a gentle class with me, we're going to have at least one down dog, right? So stretch the arms out nice and long. Ground into the four corners of the hands, and let's make our way up into that down dog. Letting yourself just move and stretch through the hips, the shoulders, your hamstrings, of course. And allow yourself to settle into that. From here, let's go ahead and lift the left leg. And we'll step that foot through to the hands and come to lunge. Sometimes lifting it gives you a little bit more momentum if you need it. All right, so toes up to the top of the mat. Let's just wiggle around into our hips over here. And you can definitely lift the back knee away from the floor for more sensation if you want that. We're going to find our center here. So pulling the legs toward each other, squaring up the hips. Let's go ahead and take the left leg straight. See about flexing the foot. We've been into this hamstring pretty good, right? So maybe you can flex the foot. Try and keep a little baby bend in the knee just so you don't hyperextend. Imagine pressing down into the floor and dragging that heel back. Check in with that sensation. How's that? Let's bend back into the knee. Descend into the hips. Go ahead and lift your chest. You can stay low or climb up. And if you climb up and you want to lift the upper body without letting the hips lift, see where the sensation is. You can extend the arms, you can interlace the fingers behind the back. Any little fun add-ons.
Let's gently release that. And we'll make our way back to down dog. So let's take the second side then, lifting the right leg. Stepping through to the hands. Drop the back knee. Adjust your toes if you need, of course, and then wiggle. Right, shift. Finding your center, sweeping the legs toward each other, and then how about taking the right leg straight? Adding in that flexing of the foot, pressing down, pulling back if you need the add-on, right? We'll bend back into the knee, sink nice and low. And then the hands stay on the floor if they need to. Climb up on the thigh if you'd like. Lifting the upper body a little or a lot. Adding the arms, maybe. And then releasing once you got here and making your way back to down dog. Let's go ahead and drop back down to the knees and sit back into that child's pose again. And if you'd like here, maybe open the knees a little bit and see if you can sink through. Nice big breaths. From there, allow yourself to just kind of slide out forward onto the belly. And we're going to work with locust a little bit here, right? So just starting off with the upper body first, ground your feet into the floor, turn your tailbone toward the floor, right? Grounding into the pelvis as well. So then the arms here, maybe down by your sides if you like. You can interlace behind the back if that feels good there, right? We haven't done a ton of that, so listen to your body, right? Let's roll our shoulders up by the ears together on your back, down toward the hip bones. We're gonna curl the chest away from the floor. Stretch the knuckles back and extend out the crown of your head here. So if you're breathing into your belly, allow yourself to rise and fall with the breath. And maybe even over-exaggerate. Let's release it. Make a little pillow for your head. Keeping your head neutral, right? So your chin or your forehead resting on your hands. Stretch through your toes, spread them wide. Extend the big toe toward the wall behind you and lift your legs away from the floor. Try not to just squeeze your butt. See if you can feel your hamstring squeeze. And then we'll release the legs. And then adding in the arms. So either again, down by your sides and release behind your back, wherever is preferable. Press down into your pelvis because now it's all you get. Okay. Right, roll your shoulders, curling your chest, Extend through the big toe, lifting the legs with the hamstrings, allowing yourself to rise and fall here. Maybe, right? If it's happening. Keeping the lower back long. And then release it. Let's make a little pillow for the hands. Turn your toes toward each other and just rock a little bit on the hips. Shake out your back. And then let's come back to center. Take your hands next to your side ribs. You gotta get yourself up off the floor just once. So pressing into the hands, lift your chest and belly at the same time if you can. Nice and easy, gently back to your child's pose. So let's come to sit up on the heels. Right? We won't be here long. Right? So if this isn't happy for you, don't worry. We're going to be on the tops of the knees though, so if you need an extra little cushion, make sure you have that. And then when you're ready, come on up to the tops of the knees. So the knees are up underneath the hip bones, just like we stand. Let's stretch out the feet for just a second here. So turn your toes under. Try to get all of the toes flat to the floor, roughly. Keeping the heels pointing up at the ceiling. See about sitting back now. Go gentle. If you wear heels, this might not be a big deal, but if you don't, it might be like really intense. Let's go ahead and release the toes, take them flat, and sit back. And if you need a block here, of course, you can prop underneath your butt. We're going to do that same idea again. So come on up, turn your toes under. See if you can get them flatter. And then sit back on the heels again. Let's release the toes. Take the feet flat and sit back. We're going to do one more of those. So give yourself a little rest for a second. Here we go. So last time, get those toes as flat to the floor as they can go. Toes or the heels point toward the ceiling as much as possible. And then we'll sit back again. I like to kind of look and check in to see what my feet are doing. Gently release. Take the foot flat, feet flat, and sit back. So when you started to feel the stretch in the foot is when your hips started going back, right? So that's going to be your sign. Come up on the tops of your knees. Turn your toes under. But if you start to feel that crazy stretch in your feet, you know your hips are drifting back, right? We don't want them to here. We want to keep them right over the knees. Little tuck of the tailbone just to keep your lower back long. And like before, you can interlace your fingers back behind your lower back, or you can just have your arms down by your sides. So just a little camel here, right? The tailbone tucks, the shoulder blades pull toward each other, the chest lifts. So you may be finding your heels if you've got a really big back bend. We haven't done a ton of that, so don't be surprised if you don't. The fingers can be interlaced. If you want to open up the chest a little bit, maybe take the arms out into cactus or alongside the ears. Just kind of play with where you want to feel the sensations. keeping the chin tucked into the throat. You can definitely look up, right? But it's not because you're flopping your head back. You got one more nice big breath wherever you are here. With the inhale, we're going to gently come back up to a neutral position. Release your arms. One last time, go ahead and sit back on your heels. Fix your mat or get rid of your prop if you had that. We're going to take a down dog, re-stretch the spine.
All the way down into a child's pose. And again, let's slide out onto the belly. And we're going to work with bow a little bit, right? So if you prefer working with locust where we were before, feel free. Otherwise, it's essentially where we just were in camel. Okay. So pelvis stays rooted into the floor. We're bending the knees. This time we're going to reach back and find the feet. So even if you didn't find your feet in camel, we're going to find them here. Flex your feet maybe. Press the feet away from the hips. And you can lift your thighs up off the floor too if you want to get all into that. Just like with our locust, if you rise and fall with the breath a little bit, let it happen. From here, hang on to your feet, roll yourself over to the left, all the way to the shoulder. And then roll yourself back over to the right, all the way over. Take right and left, or left and right, wherever you are, a couple more times. The next time you're over to the right, release your feet and roll all the way over to your back. And yeah, you'll have to scoot back to your mat. When you get back to your mat, just align the spine here for a second. The legs straight or the feet flat, whatever makes you happy. And rest your back. If your feet are not flat to the floor, go ahead and bend your knees. Keeping the neutral curves of the spine, let's extend the right leg straight up toward the ceiling. And we'll reach back behind the right leg. You can use a strap, of course, if you have one. On the exhale, pull that leg a little closer to the body. And then inhale, let it go a little bit. So just like that, in and out. Trying to keep the spine neutral on the mat as much as you can. And at the same time, you're bringing the leg in and out. Couple more like that. And then bring that leg to a center place, right? So a little bit of stretch, but nothing crazy. We're going to extend the left arm out to the left. Keep that side of the body glued to the floor. Support the outside of the leg with the right hand, and then let it fall to the right. Keeping your right hip on the floor, supporting the leg with the hand. See if we can keep this left knee pointing up toward the ceiling. Sometimes it drifts out to help. Okay. So the pelvis is still even on the floor. Let the weight of the leg fall into the hand here. Let's take another big breath. Bringing it back up to center. And then releasing that foot to the floor. And we will switch to the second side. So left leg straight up. Reaching back behind the thigh here so we can keep the curves in the spine. And then in and out on this side. Couple more over here. And then again here, finding that just stretched place. Extend the right arm out to the right, support with the left hand, and let it fall left. Right hip on the floor. Letting the weight of the leg fall into the hand. And then with the next inhale, bring it back up to the middle. And release that left foot to the floor. So if you got a little crooked, just make sure your spine feels nice and aligned here. We'll go ahead and draw the knees into the chest. Give it a little bit of a rock. And then opening the arms out into a T position here. You can switch up your twist, of course, if you'd like. We're just going to take the legs over to the right. So maybe the knees are closer to the chest, maybe not. Right? And you can let yourself relax more in it or work a little bit harder. Take the legs straight. Any little variations you choose, of course. Take another nice big breath over on this side. And then we'll make our way back to center and switch, taking the legs over to the left. And if you did a different variation on the other side, try and do something close to the same on this side. And another nice big breath over here. Bringing yourself back to the middle. So the knees into the chest, let yourself rock again. And then squeeze those knees in Pull the forehead toward the knees. Let's release it out into a full body stretch. And then release that stretch. Bringing the arms down by the sides, making your body comfortable. Feeling aligned and relaxed. From the tips of the toes all the way through the crown of the head. Bringing the focus back slowly to the breath. Release. And see if you can watch the breath as it travels. Noticing if it feels different from the breath that we began with. Certainly those big, gigantic breaths, right? How is it different than the breath that you worked with for the last 55-ish minutes? Just see if you can pay attention to it without being judgy or thinking about it or trying to do something about it. Maybe you can just sit with it. Slowly draw in a deep, cleansing breath. And then let that all go.
Gently begin to wiggle, move, and stretch. When you're ready, taking the feet flat, slowly making your way back up to seated. Sitting well, and bringing the palms to touch. Bowing to the light within. Namaste. Good. Get everything a little bit all over. Thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. If you share and like and all that fun stuff, that's greatly appreciated. I'm glad you got your audio fixed, Lindy. We're able to hear. So thanks, you guys. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.